Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. So, in the last lesson, I jumped a little bit on the topic and talked about influenced and non influenced condition of a noun. Now, we'll continue with our discussion and exploring the nouns in terms of their case being plural. And in plural, we covered sound plurals in the previous lesson, which you can see right here. I've graded out. These are the sound plurals that we've already spoken of, and you can go there and look at that in their uninfluenced condition, or in what we call nominative condition, now that you're familiar with that term in the marfu state. Now, we're going to talk about what's called ismul jam, which is the plural noun so we're on the subject here, noun that are in itself or that represent a plural. And you can see here, first example I've got is qawmun, which means a nation. So even though the word itself, qawmun, does not have any sort of signs of that you can tell, so qawmuna, waw noon addition, or so on and so forth, you don't see that here, but the very fact that the noun represents a group of people, it's treated as plural. The other one that's there is rahtun, which refers to a group. So again, it's a noun that's treated as plural when it comes in a sentence. So now I want to take you to the next discussion, which is the discussion on what we call the broken plurals. So amongst the sound plurals, we've already had the discussion, and now we go into the broken plurals. So how do the broken plurals work? So the broken plurals do not follow rules. They don't follow any rules like, in the previous ones we've seen alif noon addition makes a dual, waw noon makes a plural. So that's sound plural. For instance, in English, you have mouse becomes mice. There is no really particular rule that's being followed here. Or foot becomes feet. And you just have to sort of memorize these words. And as you build your vocabulary, you get to know them. So now look at some of the patterns that are used in Arabic for plurals. So on the right side I've got singulars, on the left side I've got the plurals of that of the word. So the first one we will look at is abdun. So abdun becomes ibadun, right? So that's what you have to now memorize. You can't come up with this on your own. So I can't give you abdun and then you're going to use some sort of magic to figure it out. You have to memorize that abdun, which is a servant, the plural of that servant is going to be ibadun. So the Quran uses ibadur rahman, for instance, the servants of the merciful. So that's the plural, and you just have to memorize that. Let's go to the next one here is qarnun, right? It refers to usually century. You could refer to that as a century and used as an era, sort of time, is another loose translation of it. It becomes qurunun. Okay, it's from qarn, it becomes qurunun. Now, another example of that, so words will follow these patterns. So another example that follows that pattern is najmun. So najmun, you can see, becomes nujumun. It's the same pattern. Qarnun, qurunun, najmun, nujumun. And there is going to be other words that follow that pattern. The next one we can take here is fakihatun. Becomes fawakihu, right? Fakihatun, which is fruits, becomes fawakihu. So again, there is no per se relationship or formula that's being applied. You just have to memorize that. And the last one here is kutubun. Just add the ba here. So kitabun becomes kutubun. And we can show that. Let's try to show that in a different. Kitabun becomes kutubun. Okay? So with that said, you just have to memorize that there are multiple patterns that come, or multiple types of, these plurals will have different patterns in them. And I'll talk more about that inshallah later as we explore the subject more. But the purpose of this lesson today is to identify to you that there are certain plurals that don't follow the rule that we spoke about in terms that apply to sound plurals, and these are called broken plurals. And with the broken plurals, you have to build your vocabulary. This is the only way I know of doing it. So you know a certain word is abdun, so it becomes ibadun. So what you can try to remember, such as in the second example of qarnun below abdun, so qarnun becomes qurunun, and then as you learn that najmun also is nujumun, so you can see that nujumun and qurunun are following the same pattern. So this nujumun has the same pattern as qurunun. And if you, what I mean by pattern is that the first, second, third, fourth word are carrying the same diacritical mark, okay? Because najmun here is the first, so let's write this here on the side here. I'm going to go to the side and explore that a little bit more so you understand what I mean. So in the singular form, it's najmun becomes nujumun, right? Similar word for you following the same pattern is qarnun and becomes qurunun. I think as I write this here, this may become a little bit more clear what I'm talking about. So if you look at the first letter here, it's got a fatha. The second letter here, it's got a sukun. And the third letter here has got tanween. Same thing here. First letter here has got a fatha. This is the second, and this is the third. And it's got the same that you have in the third. So now this, when you have najmun and qarnun, so any other word you will find, and there are many words that will follow this pattern, then you go to the dictionary, and the dictionary will tell you that najmun becomes nujumun, and qarnun becomes qurunun. And then so you memorize the plurals in that pattern, and they will follow certain patterns. You just have to know which word follows which pattern. So here, qarnun, first word, it's got a dhamma on the top. Second, it's got a dhamma again. And then the third has got a sukun. And then the fourth has got a tanween. Same thing applies here. This is the first. You can see right there. Same. Second follows the same. Third follows the same. And fourth follows the same. Inshallah, hopefully this is clear, and you will now pick up. You can, in fact, what you can do in the Quran is go through and find these words that follow this pattern. In the next lesson, I will try to post more when we discuss more. Inshallah, I'll post all the other or most of the other patterns that have come in future lessons. Okay, but at least you can start with these four and start identifying. Hopefully this is clear, inshallah. Continue practice and we'll go from here. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.